Malaysia to consider Bangladesh citizens' applications who recently lost jobs. EU receives enough members' votes to impose tariffs on Chinese EV. Good afternoon and Salam Malaysia Madani. Thanks for joining us. I'm Renee Fong and you are watching World Today. Malaysia will give major consideration to the applications of Bangladeshi workers who lost their job opportunity in Malaysia due to political developments in their country. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said the Bangladeshi government had appealed to Malaysia on the possibility of increasing workers and professional intake from the country.
I would certainly give that a major consideration. At least the first phase, subject to all the conditions being met, can be taken as soon as possible.
Terima Sri Anwar said this in a joint press conference with Chief Advisor of Bangladesh's interim government, Dr. Muhammad Yunus, after a bilateral meeting yesterday.
On investment, the Prime Minister said that both Malaysia and Bangladesh should prioritise giving attention and preference to investing firms, ensuring that any problems are addressed swiftly and in a transparent manner.
Datuk Seri Anwar noted that Malaysia's focus is governance, anti-corruption and economic fundamentals, adding that the country does not need to associate political leaders to amassing wealth and enriching themselves or their families.
Therefore, I empathise, I understand fully well that though we want Malaysian companies that have been operating here should be given adequate consideration, I will not compromise the issue of transparency and the proper due diligence in the process.
The Premier said both countries would also be looking at enhancing collaboration in higher education, agriculture, the halal economy and the semiconductor industry. He pointed out that both nations can fast-track their relations in terms of negotiation and trade arrangement. Meanwhile, Dr. Muhammad Yunus said Dhaka is looking forward to the Joint Commission meeting early next year to boost the bilateral trade.
Future areas of collaboration could be mobility, finance, including sovereign fund, pension fund, private equity fund, health, education, data sciences, AI.
At least 4 hospitals in Lebanon have announced the suspension of work amid ongoing Israeli bombardment, while rescuers said 11 personnel were killed in Israeli raids in South Lebanon.
St. Therese Hospital on the edge of Beirut's southern suburbs reported huge damage and said Israeli warplanes targeting the vicinity of the facility on Thursday led to the halt of hospital services. South Lebanon's Mais al-Jabal Hospital on the border with Israel announced the halt to work of all departments, citing factors including Israeli targeting of the hospital since last October and problems relating to supply lines and staff access. The grounds of the Salah Gando Hospital in Bint Jabal were also subject to Israeli artillery shelling, causing the facility to be evacuated. Meanwhile, the director of South Lebanon's Marja Yun Governmental Hospital, Moines Kalakesh, said an Israeli airstrike targeted ambulances at the main entrance to the hospital, killing paramedics who were bringing wounded to the facility. He said the staff shortages and bombardment have forced the closure of the hospital, located less than 10 kilometers from the border.
The United Nations has condemned what it called an unlawful airstrike by Israel on a refugee camp in the occupied West Bank that killed at least 18 people on Thursday.
The Israeli attack in Tulkarem was described as the deadliest airstrike in over 2 decades in the West Bank. The United Nations Human Rights Office slammed the attack, saying the strike is part of a highly concerning pattern of unlawful use of force by Israeli security forces during operations in the West Bank that have caused widespread harm to Palestinians. It said the airstrike came when there were no clashes or confrontation at the site. It noted that the levelling of an entire building filled with people via aerial bombing shows flagrant disregard for Israel's obligations. More fatalities may be trapped under the rubble, but recovery and identification are proving difficult in light of the massive impact of the blast. Israeli troops or settlers have killed at least 701 Palestinians in the West Bank since the Israel-Hamas war escalated on 7th October last year.
The European Commission said on Friday it had received enough support in a vote of EU members to impose tariffs of up to 45% on imports of Chinese-made electric vehicles in the bloc's highest-profile trade case, risking retaliation from Beijing.
The Commission, which oversees the bloc's trade policy, has proposed final duties for the next 5 years to counter what it sees as unfair Chinese subsidies after a year-long anti-subsidy investigation. In a vote on Friday, 10 EU members backed tariffs and 5 voted against, with 12 abstentions based on information from EU sources. It would have taken opposition from a qualified majority of 15 EU members, representing 65% of the EU population, to block the proposal. The measure was likely to pass, with France, Greece, Italy and Poland planning to vote in favour. However, the region's biggest economy and major car producer, Germany, voted against the proposal.
The World Health Organization has approved the use of the first diagnostic test for Mpox, a key tool in countries battling outbreaks. The test, called the Alinity MMPXV assay and manufactured by Abbott Molecular Incorporated, enables the detection of the Mpox virus from swabs taken from human lesions.
The WHO said the approval for emergency use of the test will be pivotal in expanding diagnostic capacity in countries facing Mpox outbreaks where the need for quick and accurate testing has risen sharply. It said by detecting DNA from pustular or vesicular rash samples, laboratory and health workers can confirm suspected Mpox cases efficiently and effectively. The health agency further noted that limited testing capacity and delays in confirming Mpox cases persist in Africa, contributing to the continued spread of the virus. Assistant Director General of WHO, Yukiko Nakatani, said the approval of the test represents a significant milestone in expanding testing availability in affected countries. She said increasing access to quality-assured medical products is central to the agency's efforts in assisting countries to contain the spread of the virus and protect their people, especially in underserved regions.
Malaysia is ready to assume the responsibility of ASEAN Chair next year, supported by the credible leadership of Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim in solidifying the country's position globally. Malaysia is believed to be able to elevate ASEAN's role to a higher level.
Laos will hand over the ASEAN chairmanship baton to Malaysia next week, marking the beginning of hard work that must be made to fully utilise the chairmanship starting 1st January next year. 3 main pillars have been outlined for ASEAN 2025, comprising security and politics, economy and socio-cultural.
Bagi saya, Malaysia terkehadapan dalam menangani dan mengangkat dengan cemerlang 3 tonggak utama sidang kemuncak ASEAN 2025. Malaysia satu-satunya negara yang mempunyai kepelbagaian kaum dalam ASEAN yang berjaya mengharungi pelbagai detik-detik cabaran 3 tonggak tersebut dengan jayanya.
ASEAN partnerships also need to be enhanced to further strengthen investment and trade among member states as well as with other nations. To that end, Malaysia's consistent foreign policy will play an important role throughout its chairmanship next year.
Pakistan has Malaysia's full support in its bid to become a full dialogue partner of ASEAN. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said Malaysia is in a position to open up on Pakistan's desire to become a dialogue partner.
Malaysia is supportive because our position is to engage, to open up. I was even in Vladivostok on the issue of discussing with President Putin on the entry to BRICS, and of course I've been invited to Kazan to attend, first as a partner member before ascension to become full members. So we have that open view, but then to finally decide will be this consensus within ASEAN.
Datuk Seri Anwar said this in an exclusive interview with Pakistan TV. Previously, Pakistan's High Commissioner to Malaysia, Syed Ahsan Raza Shah, was quoted as saying that Malaysia has been one of Pakistan's top supporters in ASEAN. He said this enabled Pakistan to secure sectoral dialogue partnership and is now looking forward to gaining full dialogue partner status at ASEAN with Malaysia's continued support.
Thai authorities and conservationists on Friday struggled to rescue over 100 elephants, dozens of pigs and other animals after flash floods hit the country's northern Chiang Mai province.
Deputy Prime Minister Phumtham Wechayachai said an operation is underway, adding that 117 elephants had been saved but 9 more needed help. The elephant is Thailand's national animal, and a white elephant, a symbol of good fortune, was featured on the Thai flag at one point in time. A number of pigs and buffaloes were still stranded in a village that is now completely flooded. Traditionally, elephants have been used as work animals, but these days are endangered. The beasts have been popular with tourists, but increasing awareness of their treatment has seen more elephants placed in sanctuaries. The Southeast Asian nation's northern region has been hit with heavy flooding since August, killing 49 people and displacing thousands of households.
North Korea vows all-out response if sovereignty threatened. Over to North Korea, its leader Kim Jong-un said the country would not hesitate to use all available offensive forces, including nuclear weapons, if the enemy attempted to use force to encroach on its sovereignty.
According to state news agency KCNA reports on Friday, Kim criticized South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol for threatening to end the North Korean regime on Tuesday. Kim said the comment showed which side was destroying regional security and peace. In a speech at an armed forces event earlier, Yoon warned Pyongyang against using nuclear weapons, saying that the act would be met with a resolute, overwhelming response from the South Korean military and the U.S. alliance. North Korea has for decades pursued a nuclear weapons program and is believed to have enough fissile materials to build dozens of such weapons. It has conducted 6 underground nuclear detonation tests.
Swedish troops preparing to go to Latvia as part of the nation's first overseas NATO deployment since joining the alliance on Friday said that they were ready for their upcoming posting.
Sweden's Foreign and Defence Ministers hosted Latvian Defence Minister Andris Spruds on a visit to a military base in southern Sweden, attending a demonstration by the unit that will contribute 600 soldiers to the NATO force in Latvia. The Swedish government has said some 600 professional soldiers from the regiment will travel to Latvia in early 2025 to join NATO's forward land forces as part of a brigade to be led by Canada. Standing by their vehicles, members of a crew who will travel to the Baltic nation next year said they were prepared for the assignment. Sweden joined NATO in March 2024 after Russia's invasion of Ukraine forced a rethink of its national security policy. Stockholm had drawn closer to NATO over the last 2 decades, but membership of the alliance marked a break with the past, when for more than 200 years Sweden avoided military alliances and adopted a neutral stance in times of war.
An official said on Friday a cholera outbreak has hit Nigeria's northeastern Borno state, already feeling from floods that displaced nearly 2 million people. And Borno Health Commissioner Baba Malam Ghana told reporters that 17 cases have been recorded following tests, but no deaths so far.
The country suffered flooding when a dam overflowed following heavy rains, displacing millions from their homes, damaging health facilities and other infrastructures, and also spread acute water diseases, AWD, among the people. Almost 500 cases of AWD have been recorded, with 5 local government areas mostly affected. Ghana said that to combat the latest outbreak, the state obtained 300,000 oral cholera vaccine (OCV) doses from the Federal Health Ministry, which have been distributed across displacement camps and flood-hit communities. The state is waiting for an additional 600,000 doses of the vaccine to ensure adequate coverage.
At least 16 people have died on Friday due to ongoing heavy rains, landslides and floods in Bosnia-Herzegovina. Civil Protection Administration appealed to citizens to avoid travelling on the roads to Konjic and Jablanica municipalities, urging everyone to follow the instructions of rescue services to prevent further casualties.
Many residents were forced to evacuate as the intense downpours caused rivers to overflow and triggered landslides, severely disrupting life in Jablanica and Konjic. According to the Red Cross of the Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina, more than 20 residential buildings have been destroyed. Bosnia Civil Defense said between 20 and 40 people were listed as missing, as they were either trapped under the rubble or carried away by flooding. The armed forces of Bosnia and Herzegovina are engaged in helping the civilian population at risk from floods.
Tropical Depression 11E forced coastal residents along Mexico's Pacific coast to seek shelter on Friday as heavy downpours flooded streets.
Residents of Yucatan in Oaxaca state, located in southwestern Mexico, observed the rain falling while they waited for the floodwaters to recede so they could resume their activities. The Oaxaca government reported in a statement members of the state police and the National Guard rescued 3 elderly individuals whose homes were flooded and relocated them to a temporary shelter. The Mexican Pacific coast has experienced 10 tropical cyclones this season, including 2 hurricanes of categories 3 to 5.
Still to come in sports, Ten Hag confidence United will bounce back before Aston Villa clash. Manchester United manager Erik ten Hag is confident his team will bounce back ahead of their crucial match against Aston Villa this Sunday.
Despite a challenging start to the season, he remains optimistic about his players' abilities and the unwavering support from fans and top management.
We can improve, and we have to improve if we want to make it a success, and we can only achieve like last 2 seasons, win trophies when we improve. So yeah, we will work on this, definitely.
Currently sitting 13th in the Premier League standings, which is 7 points from 6 games, United is experiencing their worst start since the 1986 to 1987 season. A defeat against Villa would be a significant setback for Ten Hag as he looks to secure his position in his 3rd season at Old Trafford.
The Court of Arbitration for Sport CAS said on Friday French football player Paul Pogba's doping suspension has been cut to 18 months from an initial 4 years.
The France international was provisionally suspended by Italy's national anti-doping organization, NATO Italia, in September 2023 after testing positive for DHEA, a banned substance that raises levels of testosterone. The 31-year-old Pogba, who has a contract with Italy's Juventus until June 2026, denied any wrongdoing and said in February he would appeal to CAS. The doping test was performed after Juve's 3-0 season-opening victory in Serie A at Udinese on 10th August 2023. The tribunal said it had detected prohibited non-endogenous testosterone metabolites, adding that the results were consistent with the exogenous external origin of the target compounds.
Alexander Vukic defeats world number 9 Casper Ruud in the second round of the Rolex Shanghai Masters, registering the first top 10 win of his career. World number 96 Vukic powered his way to a 6-4, 6-4 victory in 1 hour and 19 minutes over Norwegian Ruud to take his place in the third round.
In a career-best performance at Asia's biggest ATP tournament, the world's number 91 Sydney-sider stunned number 8 seed Casper Ruud to move into the third round. It marks Vukic's 4th straight match win at the ATP Masters 1000 event, with the Australian coming through qualifying to take his place the main draw. He defeated Canada's Gabriel Diallo, another qualifier, to set the high-profile meeting with Ruud. On another note, also advancing are Russian 5th seed Daniil Medvedev, a 7-5, 7-5 winner over Brazil's Thiago Seyboth Wild in just under 2 hours, and home favourite Wu Yibing, who eased past Chile's Nicolas Jarry 6-2, 6-1. Seyboth Wild started brightly, superbly defending 5 break points in the opening game before breaking Medvedev to take a 3-1 lead. A 3-game winning run at the end of the first set was enough for the world number 5 to edge in front. The Brazilian made another strong start in the second, but was his own worst enemy as he racked up 47 and forced errors throughout the match to Medvedev's 28.
Portugal expands Super Cork applications to many more functions to overcome traditional use shortages. That and more in our Offbeat segment.
Portugal, the world's leading cork producer, is finding new uses for the material, from footwear to furniture, as demand for wine bottle stoppers wanes. Producers highlight the environmentally friendly properties of cork, which is lightweight, recyclable, waterproof and fire-resistant, to encourage its use in diverse settings. Cork is obtained by stripping the bark of cork oak trees every 9 years in a careful process that allows the tree to regenerate and grow, making the industry naturally sustainable. The push to diversify comes as global sales of wine decline, reducing demand for cork wine stoppers, which have long faced competition from cheaper plastic stoppers and screw tops. Thanks to cork's cell-like structure, the material is elastic and highly impermeable, making it suitable to make shoes as well as ties, pants and other clothes. Furniture designers are also increasingly drawn to the material. British designer Tom Dixon has called it a dream material and put out a range of dark cork furniture that includes chairs, tables, stools and shelves using cork from Portugal. Builders have been drawn to the material because of its unique thermal insulation and sound absorption properties. "11 lithographs signed by the Spanish surrealist Salvador Dali sparked an auction battle after being stored and forgotten in a London garage for about 50 years. The prints, which were found as the seller cleaned up his lockup in the upmarket Mayfair area, had been bought in the 1970s at an art gallery closing down sale for £500. Chris Carrickham, Associate Director of Auction House Hanson's Richmond, said each lot exceeded its guide price of between £500 to £700. Dali's 1929 portrait of French poet Paul Eluard sold for a staggering £13.5 million at Sotheby's in London in 2011. But Kirkham said that demand for the lithographs, even at a lower price, had been exceptional with worldwide interest.
It's always exciting, and the vibrancy of the colours, and the fact that each print is signed by the artist himself, which is pretty amazing. Yes, it's quite an exciting thing, and then you think, it's nice to bring them to market and they'll be framed and put on people's walls as they should be, rather than just sort of tucked away with no one enjoying them really. And
double check, I don't want to pull the wrong one out. It must be a particularly rare one. I don't know.
Devastated by a year of war, the Gaza Strip is showing off some of its archaeological heritage with an exhibition of dozens of artifacts from its soil in Geneva, Switzerland. The new Heritage at Risk exhibition at the Geneva Museum of Art and History presents 44 objects from the Gaza soil owned by the Palestinian Authority, and with them part of the soul of Gaza, alongside dozens of other artifacts from Sudan, Syria and Libya. The objects include amphora, statuette, funerary stele, jar or lamp and figurine.
34 objets qui appartiennent à l'autorité nationale palestinienne. Donc qui proviennent de Gaza et on en présente 44 dans cette exposition, alors qu'il y en a plus de 530 qui sont ici à Genève depuis l'exposition de 2007, Gaza, la croisée des civilisations. Donc tous ces objets gazaouis n'ont pas pu repartir dans leur pays d'origine.
The exhibition curator further explained that the idea was to show the diversity of the culture of the Gaza Strip. The exhibition displays objects dating from the Bronze Age around 3000 BC. Italian land artist Dario Gambarin geared up ahead of U.S. election and created a huge portrait of Democratic presidential nominee and U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris in a farm field. The artist, known abroad for his land portraits of former U.S. Presidents Barack Obama and Donald Trump, as well as Pope Francis, decided to pay homage to Harris after being impressed by one of her quotes.
Più che rappresentare, mi ha colpito una frase che è quando dice che l'ottimismo è il carburante che guida ogni lotta che facciamo, no? L'ottimismo, perché è una donna molto ottimista, perché il sogno americano in un certo senso appartiene a tutti noi.
The work, drawn freehand with a plow pulled by a tractor, was created on a plot of wheat stubble in Castagnaro in the province of Verona. To create its light and dark effect, the surface soil must be dry, and the underlying soil, which is plowed with a tractor, must be wetter to result in the alternating light and dark brown of the tracks. Gambarin said that to render the effect of the pupils well, he placed nylon tarps, though he said he had to reposition them several times because of the strong wind.
And that offbeat item wraps up World Today this time around. And in our top story, Malaysia to consider Bangladesh citizens' applications who recently lost jobs. Until next time, I'm Renee Fong, Malaysia Madani. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Thanks for watching and have a pleasant afternoon.